tonight.
That's right.
Sarah, would you mind coming up front over here, please? Jane, would you mind coming up here, please? If you would. So I just want to talk about, well, we've opened up officially yesterday, but we've been open for a couple of months. We've been delayed a lot due to the build out of the center. And I just wanted to point out my two contributions to the design of this place. It is the garbage pails and the one chair I bought. Okay, and I just want to tell a little story behind this chair. I had envisioned this to be the chairs that sit behind the desk over there. And as I brought it in and showed it to Jane and Sarah, there was no response for about 30 seconds. And I said, enough said. And that was that.
If you want them, they're at Costco?
Yes, they are. They cost $99. So I want to thank Sarah and Jane. They spent countless hours, and this place is absolutely gorgeous.
Good
So,
job.
I know I've spoken to a lot of you. I'll just give you a quick overview of who we are, what we do, and I'd like to introduce the principals of the center here. I've been doing this for about 25 years, and I started in New Rochelle, and we started in the basement, and within a year we had about 200 and
over 200.
yeah, I had
a
rent space across the hall from another business at night to get kids into the extra classroom. And you know, we've been around a long time, done a lot of good. We're about to start a whole new model here, and we're mixing both medicine and education. And in the past, the way our education system works, it has been about accommodating problems for kids, about giving them more time on tests, about helping them get by, as opposed to empowering them. I don't want kids just to survive, I want them to thrive. And the way they thrive is having high self-esteem, having people skills, rapport skills, emotional intelligence. That's the one thing both medicine and education ignores when a child has a problem. And to me, that's where it starts, with the attitude of the kid, their belief systems, their self-esteem, their confidence. So we created a system here. There's exercises, there's cognitive work, there's learning techniques, but the system is really about the attitude, the emotions, the way we conduct the program. And we do pretty much the opposite of what any school system or what any or therapy program would work on with a child. If a child has an issue with focus or attention, their theory is create an environment that's sterile, that's quiet, and have that child focus better. We're doing the exact opposite. This room can be packed one day with maybe as many people as this, doing exercises. And so if a child has to condition their brain to focus with distractions around them, this is for the real world. This means they can go to their classrooms and not be disturbed by the kid next to them. This means they can focus on their work when there are distractions around them. This is about conditioning their brain to a higher level. Now this exercises in here corrects a ton of visual and sensory motor issues. The cognitive program we have, we're fortunate to have Roger Starks, the CEO of Brainware. I've been working with many different types of cognitive training programs. I started in the 90s working with Bill Brock, a former Senator, Secretary of Labor, with the Bridges program, Structure of Intellect. And we had this in about 660 schools around the country with incredible results. But unfortunately, on a business model dealing with the schools, you sell 1 year to a school and a new superintendent comes in and the next year that contract is out. So it became hard to sustain it in the schools, even though we got great results. I've always thought that the answer is bringing this directly to the parents and empowering the parents to empower their child. Half of this is about the attitude of the kid and how you treat a kid who has these issues. Unfortunately, a lot of parents try to enforce what the school does. So I have a kid who can't sit still. I have a kid who can't focus and takes 4 or 5 hours to do their homework. Well, in school, they're being tortured 6 hours a day. Now that child comes home and the parent starts the same torture. Sit up straight. Well, a kid who has focusing issues or sensory issues or hyperactivity, for them to control their body will raise all their cortisol levels and take all their thinking blood from their higher order thinking areas and brings it back to fight or flight, where they can't focus or attend. So this is about training the brain on that higher level so it's natural, it's intuitive. The cognitive program works on brain functions. Someone poor at math, we don't tutor them in math. We work on the mental abilities that are necessary to process math. So the underpinnings of executive function, being able to organize, to plan, to make decisions, these are the cognitive skills that are necessary to develop those higher abilities. Now what I do is the learning strategies, that's my area of research, brain-based learning, neuroscience, how the best learners learn. And almost from the start, kids can become transformed in the way they learn just by using their brains a certain way, how they hold their body, where they place their eyes, and how they chunk information. I wish I could have recorded this yesterday. I had two young students come in, both 7th graders, that I did a screening on, and they were both autistic, twins, a brother and sister. The brother was a little more severe. That 7th grade girl, in a matter of maybe 2 minutes, I taught her paradigmethylaminobenzoaldehyde frontwards and backwards. Now, the father is a neurologist. He was almost crying. He couldn't believe that this girl had that ability and to respond that quickly. And then 20 minutes later, right before they left, as they were leaving, I asked her to spell it again. And when she started to spell it frontwards, I stopped her and asked her to spell it backwards with no hesitation. She blew out 29 letters backwards. Now, I don't think anybody in this room can blow the alphabet out backwards or tell me the 18th letter of the alphabet, because you learned it by rote memory. The way she learned it, it's a natural way of learning. That's the way the best learners learn. So we hit their brain. We try to overwhelm their brains. Now, the great part of this is we're going to have a medical part, a testing part with new tests. We have the Neuralex test coming, which is a quantitative EEG. It's the first objective test for ADD that has been approved by the FDA. And at 96% accuracy, it can diagnose ADD. You have kids who are out there diagnosed with ADD and they don't have ADD. And they're being given medication that's not the right medication for them. And there are kids out there that should be diagnosed and they're not being diagnosed. So this test is an empirical snapshot of the brain. And that empirical snapshot of the brain, when we're done with the program, will retest that child who's positive. And what we're expecting is that child will be negative. And that's been the result so far. So we plan on starting a medical educational study. There will be multiple protocols, and I believe we'll see some powerful research come out of what we're doing here. There's additional, I'll let Dr. Reutter speak to it, testing that we'll be doing with the children. And Dr. Billick is a psychologist as well as a coach, and he will be doing the psychological testing. So I just wanted, Dr. Reutter, if you come up.
Sure.
I met Dr. Reutter. I'm taller than Dr. Reutter.
Yes, yes.
As you can see. All right. I met Dr. Reutter about 12 years ago when he first started to use the QEEG. And what he found is half of the kids were negative on this test, which means medication or maybe another type of treatment would be necessary. And so we got together. And I was up in Stanford, and he's down in Jersey, and we decided to open up a learning center down by him. And we've been there for about 8 years, 10 years now. 10 years. And I'll tell you just a quick sidebar, Jeff. So Jeff is my manager in Jersey. He started the program with his son. He came into me, he's a special ed high school teacher, came to me about 5 years ago and did the program with his son. And then came to work for me and then brought in as a partner and runs the center with me down there. So if you would, maybe say a few words and speak about the testing.
A couple of things. First, in terms of the testing, what we're looking to do is to first make sure that we have the correct diagnosis, to make sure that we have a comprehensive diagnosis. We want to make sure that we're addressing all of the issues that need to be addressed. The testing that we do looks at brain function, so it gives us a picture of how the brain is working. It not only helps us to know about kids who have attention deficit disorder, but it helps us to know about things like processing problems, visual processing issues, auditory processing issues, sensory motor integration issues, sensory integration issues. It helps us to look at executive functions. So the quantitative EEG can give us a wealth of information to determine objectively exactly what the problems are. And then to be able to develop a comprehensive program to address those issues. Another test that we'll be doing in this center here, and I've been doing for probably 5 years now, is called a quotient ADHD system. The quotient is based on looking at symptoms of attention deficit disorder. And the symptoms that are primarily looked at are inattention, which is a prime symptoms of ADHD, and also increased motion. Most kids who have ADHD have increased motion. Some of it's very subtle, fidgeting around, like you talked about. And what people commonly think of is, of course, the kid who's running around the room. So this testing helps us to look at the level of symptoms they're experiencing. It gives us an objective number. It's not just somebody's subjective opinion to say, well, it's a 3 on a scale of 1 to 3. This gives us an objective number to say this is where the individual's at the beginning. And what we'll be doing is looking at that testing during the course of the program to show how that improves over time. And so all of the individuals who come into the program will have that testing done as they start the program and then throughout the program. Just a word about kind of what attracted me to what Peter does at Empowered Learning. And I've been doing neurodevelopmental pediatrics for about 40 years. So I've assessed lots and lots of kids. And one of my frustrations during that time was I could make a diagnosis, but I didn't have a lot to offer in terms of treatment. There was nothing that I could do to correct the underlying problem. What we do here is to correct that underlying problem. We reprogram how the brain works. And that's what excited me about what Peter was doing, and that's what continues to excite me about the program here.
Thank you.
Sure.